Okay, good morning, everybody. And we still have some people joining us. So if you haven't already, put your name and district in the chat, and please mute your microphone, and please turn off your cameras to save bandwidth. So we are going to record our session today, and it will be shared after as well. Okay, so starting off, we have our agenda. We're going to start with our due dates and timelines as we usually do. And we'll have some updates and reminders, some new items for this month, and looking ahead. And if there's time, we will take voice questions, but we always do take questions through the chat as well throughout the session. Okay, so starting out with due dates and timelines, we have October 15th, which is already tomorrow. Can't believe it. So the August graduate data is due. So just make sure that you have your August grads, their enrollment, their exit information, credential, career path, and don't forget those added district students. So sometimes they're forgotten for graduate information. And then coming up very quickly is October 22nd. We have our staff evaluation due. Data is due to level 0. So once you migrate that data, you'll be able to check that CERS 365 report, and we'll have some more information later on today in the session. All right, and then October 31st, once you report your staff evaluation data, the certification of that data is going to be due in CEDMON. And already thinking about November 12th, we have staff snapshot and assignment. So did you guys know that there is a level 1 report that can help you verify staff assignment as well? So we have a new guide for you this month, which we'll talk about a little bit. And November 26th is that normal monthly deadline for the main domains for students for demographics, enrollment programs, day calendar, and attendance. So that's just helping you keep on track, making sure that you're importing on a regular basis and, see our new import schedule that helps you meet those deadlines. So again, that new import schedule is it is a weekly setup, but that is a recommendation. So it's going to be your district decision how you use that. And I've also included the link at the top here for the 25-26 CERS reporting timeline, which gets updated throughout the year, and our reporting roadmap. And then that import schedule I spoke about is linked here as well. So you'll want to bookmark that if you haven't already. Okay, so our updates and reminders section, we're going to have some updates from special services and our testing services department. So Sarah, I'm going to pass it over to you if you're available.
Yes, thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sarah Liner from the Special Services team, and I just have a few reminders for you guys today. First off is our auto imports. As we left off last time we spoke, the program fact imports have started from Frontline IEP auto importing into level 0 on a nightly basis. More recently, October 6th started the bedstay snapshot auto import. So you might have started to see errors populate in your bedstay snapshot field because that has started. Certification for the bedstay snapshots not until January. So you do have some time to review those errors with your special ed office. Up and coming, we have the special ed events, the SE events. They will be starting November 3rd, and I will talk about why these are starting in a little bit. Next slide, please. All right, so special ed due dates for the 25-26 school year for all of those state indicators and reports. The 25-26 due dates are out and available. You can click the link on your screen when you receive the presentation after the meeting, or you could just copy and paste it into your browser. I recommend bookmarking this or at least reviewing it often, especially if you've just printed out, because as we know, these due dates are subject to change. We do see that a lot. And just as a reminder, like I just mentioned, the bed stay snapshot, that's the next one coming up that your special ed office is working on currently. January 20th, 2026 is when they have to certify the bed stay snapshot in the PD system. All right, next up, an SE event update and reminder. As I mentioned, why these were starting in November. It's because NICED has confirmed that they are continuing to require districts to quarterly submit the data for the SE events. So who is this for? This is for all districts. What is it? You just have to migrate the SE event data from level 0 before each of these quarterly submission dates, and they are on the screen. The next one coming up is January 16th, 2026. This is not a certification date. Nothing in the PD system needs to happen specifically other than the data is migrated and it must be available for viewing in the PD system. And then we round it out with the official certification for this data is going to be September 14th, 2026. I can't believe we're talking about 2026 so much.
I know.
Yeah.
It's flying by.
Yeah. All right, next up, I believe this is my last reminder for you. And this is not a new thing. This has been around for a few years now. However, it always becomes a hot topic this time of year when level 0 starts and your enrollments are showing and the errors come through and whatnot. So I figured this would be a good chance to give you guys a nice friendly reminder. CPSE to CSE summer enrollment. So, for any CPSE student that is transitioning to CSE, requires a summer preschool enrollment, whether they had ESY or not. It's a two-step process, and I have it outlined for you below. But to be brief, that preschool enrollment needs to encompass the entire summer because they are still considered preschool the summer before they start kindergarten. So that's from July 1st all the way through August 31st of whatever year we are referencing. The second important part of this is that kindergarten enrollment cannot start any earlier than 9/1 because, as I just said, they're still considered preschool the summer before. So if you start that kindergarten enrollment, say the day after ESY services have ended, you're going to get an error because they're still reporting a preschool disability when you're trying to report a kindergarten enrollment. So those are the two main takeaways from this. The entire summer, we need a preschool enrollment, and kindergarten enrollment starts no earlier than 9/1. And I believe
That
that's
is.
it. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Sarah.
Uh,
I was just looking at the chat.
Yeah, there's only one comment in there, and I agree with Mike.
Yeah, I
It
just
does
saw
create
that.
a problem for busing and for when you're loading other systems from your SMS, it does create a problem to have that 9/1 date and not have the kindergartners on the list before 9/1. There are some maybe not really wonderful workarounds, but yes, I agree with Mike. Um, okay. All right, and Alan says that Steve Caldwell brought this to Mindex's attention previously. So hopefully there'll be some relief to that.
Thank you, Pam.
Yep. Okay,
There's
I'm
a
just
few
reading through.
comments. Yeah,
And
me
yeah,
too.
Mike's doing something like I used to do is, you know, actually I wouldn't use 7/1, I'd use 8/1. So start the kindergartners or 8/1, and then you have to change them all after the beginning of the year before you report it to the data warehouse. It works. It's not clean and neat. Hopefully the SMSs will come up with something else that we can work with. Okay.
Thanks, Pam. And I just want to make sure you all can see you can see my screen, correct? Not just the presenter view. Like
I can see
Okay.
testing services and.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay,
So
all right.
for anyone that wrote me directly, you just want to check your view on Zoom. Okay. Thank you so much. So thank you, Sarah. We don't have any other questions in the chat, it looks like. So we're going to move over to John Ziotis at Testing Services. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. John here. So we got some updates as well as some new things to talk about for this month.
Thank you. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so we'll get to test updates real quick since we have a lot to talk about with new updates. But for August regions, we start our exports. Results are populating in level 2, the CERS 653. Same with Nicetel. Exports for those have also begun, and the results for that are populating to the CERS 650 in level 2. Now, the January regions, we sent out the contact forms last week, and as we receive those, I believe the due date is the end of this week. We'll send out the remaining forms starting next week. And then with the NISA, the Kite Educator portal has opened currently. So the NISA testing coordinators as listed in SEDREF have now been given access to the portal, and they can go in and add other users as needed. And then the NISA extract of students is planned for November 7th. So please try to have your students and their programs migrated from level 0 to level 1 by October 29th to make the extract. All right, so here's the new thing. So level 1 manage users utilities. So we talked about this last month and it has officially rolled out. So a couple of weeks ago, we had reached out for DDC contacts and we had notated to put in who you want access for that. We provide access last Friday, but if you don't have access and you need it, always reach out to us. But I just want to give a brief tutorial on how to do this, but we also have a guide written up that I will be sharing out with anyone who has access. So to get to the manage users utility, first off, you're going to go to dw.daviewmhric.org, and you want to go to the security and utility tools and then open manage accounts. Now your login for that is going to be the exact same as level 1. And once you log in, you're going to see your list of active users and any recently deactivated users. So on that page, there's a plus icon you can use to add new users, as well as there's icons for every active user, which will let you run an audit report, see what, or the last time you logged in, what reports they've run. You can edit their account, or you can disable or deactivate their account. Now for deactivated accounts, the only icon you're going to have is to reactivate them. But if you do reactivate an account, just note you have to give them the permissions back. When you deactivate an account, all the permissions are wiped. All right, so this is just a brief screenshot of what it's going to look like. So as you can see, you got the plus icon at the top, and then on the left, you have the 3 icons, and you have the user type, which will show district user or location user, and the last modified date. I blanked out the names, emails, just so we're not sharing any information on current users, but that's what you should see when you're in the level 1 manage users utility. All right, so now to briefly talk about adding a user. So we're just going to talk about adding a user. One thing to note is with editing users, it's going to bring you to the same thing. So adding users, editing users, it's the same basic guide. So when you click on the plus icon, first thing you have to do is search for their email address. This is to confirm that they don't have access already. If they do, it'll tell you they do, and you can't do anything, but if they don't, they'll let you progress. So when you search the email, if they don't have access, you're going to have to enter their user information. And then after you enter the information, you're directed to the permissions step. And the permissions, this is where you can select where they have district access, location access, or neither. So with district access, they're allowed to run reports for your whole district. With location access, they can run reports for only indicated buildings. Now, if you select neither of those, the only other access you can give is teacher access. And with teacher access, that allows them access to only the reports in the teacher reports folder, and that will restrict them to a specific teacher ID number that you'll have to enter. And then lastly, there is also the user admin permissions, which you can assign. We recommend you keep that only for the DDC, but if you need assistance and you have access and you need assistance, you can always provide that to another user. All right, so these are the first two steps to it. So as you can see, user information, the email will always be blanked out because when you search it, it copies the email address from your search. And then you'll have the first name, last name, title, phone number, billing district, and birthday of month that you have to enter. After you do that, you can go to permissions where you see district or location. If you have those filled in, you can always clear the selection if you actually didn't mean to give them either. And then you have teacher access and user admin. And after those are complete, you'll go to the district location and teacher access step. I did see a chat message, Kathy, is there ability to upload users? No, not currently. There is no way to upload users. All right, so after you're done with the permissions step, the next step, district location, teacher access setup. First off, if it's just a district user, the district's going to autofill, so you don't have to really worry about that. If you're giving them location access, you're going to get two lists, one list of your current locations, and then a list of the locations they have access to that you'll have to move locations back and forth to give them access. Then for teacher, it's just going to give you a prompt to fill in for the teach ID. If you leave it blank, they'll be if you leave it as a 0, I should say, then it could be given access to all teachers. But if you put in the teach ID, it'll restrict all the reports to that teach ID. Then once you're done setting up all the teacher district location access, you can click save and finish. The user's account will be created and they'll be automatically emailed a sign-in link to level 1. And so this is just sample of what the district location teacher access part will look like. You got the teach ID at the top, it defaults to 0, but you can enter the actual teach ID. District, like I said, that will autofill in. I just blanked it out. And then available location. So you'll see each location, you can click on the one you want and move it to the right in the existing locations list to add access for a user. And that's pretty much it for the level 1 manage users utility. Once again, we are going to give a guide on that a little later today, but if you have questions, you can always contact us. But all right, so moving on to level 1 teacher accounts. So this has also been rolled out now, and it's essentially like you'll give them access through the manage users utility, and it just gives access to that teacher reports folder. Now within there are 3 folders. You have the current year student reports, which has reports on the 3 to 8 assessments with performance, student and item analysis, and responses. Then they have prior year student reports, reports on 3 to 8 and regents involving performance, student item analysis, and responses. And then they have the My Teacher Info dashboard. Now this provides staff data and class rosters. And from those class rosters, teachers can look at their students, drill down and see like their student profile reports, see what assessments they've taken, all sorts of data on the students. And as Sam had mentioned earlier, we are writing new level 1 report guides, and our hope is over coming months to write out some report guides for these new reports and the teacher reports. So just keep an eye on DDC slides as we write more reports. As we get into the teacher ones, they will be announced. And then,
John,
for
you had a
teachers,
question?
Yep.
I think you just answered it in this, for teachers then. Is this linking them by their teach ID based on the courses and sections they are listed on in our other reporting?
So Yes, you want to link it to the Teach ID that is connected to their courses and sections. I mean, unless you want them to have access to everything, which just leave it as 0, but just want to use the one linked to these courses and sections, so we'll pull up their data. Okay, that's all we got. If you have any questions, just reach out to us, give us a call, email, whatever you need, and we'll give you report guides on those teacher reports as soon as we can, and the guide on the level 1 user accounts today. Right, and thank you.
Great. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to move over to, oh, we have one more question for John. Is there a way to link to current classes?
Yes, but I will say it won't link until your class data is reported to level 1. So I mean, you can put in the current Teach ID, but if your class data for 25, 26 isn't reported yet, they're not going to see anything.
Yeah, that would be course instructor assignment, and we haven't opened that domain yet.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to move over to the data collection and reporting section, reminders and what's new. So I'm going to pass it over to Michelle.
All right, thank you, and good morning, everyone. As Sam mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, the due date for August grads is tomorrow, October 15th. We do have a quick reference guide available to assist. It is linked on the slide and can also be downloaded from an email to the field that was sent Monday, October 6th. Additionally, it will be posted to the Data Warehouse Library on our website. When submitting graduate data, whether it be for August or January or for June grad, there are certain key areas to remember to report. So that's like credential types. Was this a Regents diploma, or Regents with advanced designation? Was there an endorsement, CTE? Was it a GED, high school equivalency diploma? So, that's one area. The career pathway codes, was it humanities, HUM, was it LOTE, was it none? So again, those are the career pathways, having that grade 9 entry date to identify the cohort, having the appropriate enrollment exit code, and also any program service codes. Was there a seal of biliteracy? Was there a seal of civic readiness? So those are the types of things that we're looking for when we're talking about August grads. So of course, more details can be found on that quick reference guide and in the SIRS manual. All right, so moving on, also due, as Sam had mentioned earlier, this month is the 24-25 staff evaluation collection. Scores and ratings must be migrated from level 0 by noon on October 22nd in order to meet NYSED's deadline of October 24th. Certification will then be due no later than Friday, October 31st, and the form is available from SEDMON within NYSED's business portal. We here on the data team have been conducting outreach to make sure all districts are working on this submission. And as you may know, the Office of Teaching and Leader Development at NYSED, also known as Educator Eval, closely reviews all submissions of staff eval data and conducts their own outreach. So you or your superintendent may receive communications from them if they have questions about your data. One item to note is that NYSED will not release the certification form unless they have reviewed the data and deem it to be complete. They are checking to see, for example, that scores and ratings have been included from both teachers and principals. The number of staff reported seems accurate as compared to the teachers and principals that we reported in Staff Snapshot. The overall ratings were calculated according to your district's APPR plan, and that there aren't an excessive number of zeros submitted, since this may indicate that the score should really be blank rather than 0. Should you need assistance with this data submission, please reach out to us at datawarehouse@mhric.org. If you would prefer to view some self-paced tutorials, we have those available as well. So there are 4 micro-learning modules, and if we go to the next, yes, on the links on the slide here, they're posted in the resource library on our website as well. You can see the topics next to each module. At this point in the timeline, module 3 and 4 would probably be the ones to review first. And note that you can build your own level 0 import file if necessary. And module 4 speaks to this and provides a template to download with step-by-step instructions. So if you've already viewed the tutorials, we hope they've been helpful. And of course, email us with any questions or feedback. All right. So last month, so we're moving on now to pre-K and pre-K child counts. And last month we spoke to you about the new program service codes for the pre-kindergarten child care counts. Codes 903, 904, 905, and 906 have been included to reflect statewide universal full-day kindergarten, or SUFDPK funding. These are in addition to the 902 and 990 codes used in prior years for universal pre-K, or UPK, and pre-K students not funded by UPK, or SUFDPK. So this month we want to discuss funding calculations. UPK and SUFDPK funding are directly tied to the number of students served. So it's essential that your enrollment, demographics, and program service data are up to date, and that updates follow our import schedule. To calculate the final payment for the 25-26 school year, the Office of Early Learning will use student data from 2 benchmark dates, October 1st, 2025, and March 13th, 2026. The higher enrollment count from these 2 dates will be used to determine the maximum funding allocation for your program. Please note that the October 1st date should not be interpreted as the cutoff for data migration. It actually represents an as-of date, meaning the records submitted reflect data including that date. This is similar to how we look at BEDS reports, which includes students enrolled as of BEDS Day. For further details, please refer to the link on the screen, which has the SED memo. Okay. All right.
Whoops, sorry.
And there was the memo.
I know. There's the memo. Sorry, everybody.
Oh.
There.
Okay, so next I'd like to speak about middle school CTE. As you can see on the screen, according to Commissioner's regulations, all middle level students are required to complete 1 3/4 units of CTE. CTE instruction can begin as early as grade 5 and must be completed by grade 8. Instruction can be in any of the 7 CTE content areas listed there on the slide, as long as it is delivered by teachers certified in that content area. So unlike high school CTE, CTE programs here for middle, in high school CTE, those programs you may know have program codes or SIP codes. For middle school, that is not required. The middle school CTE requirements are fulfilled and reported through the use of specific state course codes. So if we look at the next slide, the following New York State SCED codes outlined in the SIRS manual must be used to report courses that fulfill the New York State middle level CTE requirement and course instructor assignment, student class entry exit, and student class grade detail. So districts must map their local codes to these specific state course codes to indicate that they are CTE middle level courses. There are 2 state course codes for each of the 7 content areas, one for grade 5 and 6, and one for grade 7 to 8. The reason for this split has to do with certifications. Some CTE certifications are only grades 7 to 12. There are 5 to 6 extensions available, but teachers might not hold these. So it is important to consult the crosswalk for allowable teaching assignments, as well as the SIRS 329 Level 2 report, which is the staff certification report that shows each teacher certification area or areas according to the TEACH database. I've also put a link to the 25-26 crosswalk on the slide. And so if there weren't any questions, anything there that we need to address?
I don't see anything in the chat, Michelle.
Okay, so with that, I will hand things over to Pam, who will be providing some additional reminders.
Pam, you're on mute.
Unmute.
Thank you.
I just wanted to see if anybody was paying attention or actually cared to hear what I said.
Of course we do.
So anyway, I'll start off with a little reminder for anybody who got in a little late on this Tuesday after a Monday holiday. That reminder to sign into the chat. So we have a record of your attendance. And otherwise, we're going to move on to some reminders that are all related to level 0. Our first reminder or tip will hopefully help to relieve what can cause frustration for you. We often get emails or calls regarding errors that you have fixed, but still appear in the list of errors in level 0. It's important to know that the list of errors behave differently depending on the type of error. For example, the list of import errors will be updated as soon as you fix the error. It will come off the list. Verification and to some extent informational errors behave differently. The list is only updated when you run the report, which means that you may see an error on the list that has already been fixed. There are a number of reasons for this, all technical, for the reason it works this way. The error may be fixed by a correction that is made in a different domain. But essentially, this is the way it works. We've asked, but it's just not something that's technically possible to fix. So what's the best practice to deal with this situation? And we recommend that you fix it and recheck or rerun the report. The errors will not disappear until the report is rerun. For me, whenever I'm looking at verification errors, the first thing I do is run the report so that I'm always looking at a current list. Now, for larger districts, you may need to be patient when you do that, but it will help you to know that you're looking at current information. Verification errors may be fixed or new errors introduced when you make a change or import either the domain you're looking at or even another domain. So get into the habit of running the report to get a current list every time before you start to work on the errors. Also keep in mind that the errors will return on the next import if the source data has not been corrected. All right, that's hopefully a tip that will help you save you some time and frustration. Next up, here's a new twist on an old issue. You may or may not have spent time with the level 0 edit checks document. It used to be a PDF document that was somewhat difficult to navigate to find information that you need. SED, upon request and pleading from the RICs, has reformatted this information into what will hopefully be a much more usable document. First, they converted the information into a spreadsheet, and you can see from the screenshot here that it's a spreadsheet with a lot of information in it. But given that it's a spreadsheet, you have the option of using filters, which I'm personally a big fan of, to narrow down the information to what you need to see. This document, as they have done with the PDF version in prior years, will be updated for each release throughout the year. So similarly to the SIRS manual, you may want to just bookmark the link so that you're always accessing the most recent version of the document. The current spreadsheet has 5 tabs. The first tab has revision version 21.xx, which shows changes in the current document. The second tab, rules and validations for the current release. This is the main tab that the screenshot shows here. There's a tab for notes, which explains each of the tabs and has other general information. And you might want to read through that once. You probably don't need to read through it every time. The templates. This contains eScholar templates for a quick reference. But again, given that documents change and are updated, you may want to actually go to the eScholar templates if you're reviewing that for specific details. And the final tab is field requirements, which indicates which template fields are key, required, or quasi-required to give you just more information about about each data point. As you can tell from the screenshot here, there is a lot of data on this tab, and it will take time to learn how it will work best for you. You will likely use this when you receive an error message and need to understand why your data was flagged. So currently, there are 1,212 errors listed. Let's hope you don't get them all at once. The simple solution is to do a Control F to find the specific error that you have received. For now, let's look a little more detail into the data, in other words, what is in each column, to see what you will find when you get there. First, you may want to do a little housekeeping. The first column shows if the error is active or inactive. Since you probably won't get an inactive error, you can filter the column to only show active errors. That narrows it down to a mere 1,084 errors. And that sounds much more manageable. You all caught my sarcasm on that, I hope. The next 4 columns list the category code, the rule number, the category number, and the template, also known as the domain. There is some redundancy here between these columns. In that the category code and the category number combine to give the rule number. Also, the category code has a one-to-one mapping to the template. If it were me, I would hide the category code and category number to make things a little less busy. Column F shows the field that is triggering the error. For those who have been doing this for a bit, you likely know that the field that triggers the error may not be the field that is actually in error. It may be the content of this field is not valid based on what is reported in another field, and that other field may be in a different domain. For those of you who are new to this, well, you heard it here first. It's not our goal to analyze the errors at this time, but just to introduce you to this tool and how it may be useful to you, and with a few tips. For now, just realize that the invalid data may be elsewhere, and the information in here will give you some clues as to where to look. Let's skip the next 3 columns for a minute and focus on the error type over in the right. It doesn't take long for you to learn that there are different types of error in level 0 at different times. We just spoke about this on the previous slide. We have import errors, what are typically referred to as verification errors that occur when you run the verification report, and informational errors. Looking at the values that appear in this column, we will see import, which are import error, fatal, which are the verification errors, and informational. So those are the 3 items that you will see in there. Import and fatal errors will prevent your data from migrating to level 1. Okay, all right. Okay. I'm just noticing the chats. Is most everybody okay with the sound?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm hearing you fine, Pam. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to continue. There's always the recording, Joan, if if it continues to cut out. Okay, thank you, everybody. So import and fatal errors will prevent your data from migrating to level 1, so those must be corrected. Informational errors do not need to be cleared yet, but should be evaluated. There are some informational errors that may become fatal later in the year, and we'll see that one of those in a moment. So don't wait to start looking at them. Now to the heart of the document, columns G, H, and I. The information in these columns will describe what the logic is checking for, what will trigger the error, and the messages that you will receive. Looking at a specific error, we're going to go to the next slide. So I've hidden some of the columns here as I had spoken about in the housekeeping comments. Notice that error DM1100 is an import error. You can see that over on the right, that you will receive on demographic data. And you will see that it's demographic data based on the template column, column 2. The error is flagged based on data in the guidance counselor ID field. As you can read, The integrity check, in the integrity check column, there must be a staff snapshot record reported for the counselor. And if you have not yet reported any staff snapshot records, this check will not be run until, notice from the rule description column, I highlighted it in red. After November 1st, if you do not have a staff snapshot record with this ID, you will receive an error. This was implemented to remove the restriction that staff snapshot needed to be imported before demographics at the beginning of the year, which was, I think, a headache for a lot of folks. So it's good that we relaxed that rule, but as of November 1st, that's going to kick back in. So you must have staff snapshot record for all your guidance counselors. Okay. So if you have not yet imported staff snapshot, now is the time to get that data imported and clear up any errors and verify that you have all the counselors that should be there. Finally, in the error message column, you can see the actual message. The ampersand bad data is a placeholder and will be replaced with the guidance counselor ID that is an error. Okay, so we encourage you to make use of this document. There might be a little learning curve for it, but I think it will help you to understand sometimes the question, why am I getting this error? And maybe, allow you to come to a resolution more quickly. All right. That said, another resource that you may, another resource that you may find helpful is the Understanding Level 0 Errors document, which can be found under the Help tab in Level 0. Yes, there is a Help tab in Level 0. I don't know how often you've gone there, but we're actually bringing this up there to make you aware of that. State Ed publishes a couple of help documents every year that are accessible through that Help tab, and it's updated annually. And it gives you some insight into the conventions used and the different types of Level 0 errors. Okay. That's just a, hey, fun fact. There's something out there. Okay. Another quick reminder about Level 0 password resets. When we send out a password reset, the link is only active for 4 hours. Please keep that in mind when requesting a reset. If you are leaving for a meeting or will be gone for the rest of the day, you may want to wait to send the request till the next morning so that you will be there to complete the process. Or, even better, if you have not already done so, spend some time to set up the 3 security questions, and you will be able to reset your password without having to wait for a reset. Okay? But we're here to help you. If you get stuck and you need it reset, not a problem. All right. Next question, which is somewhat related to Level 0, is location ads. When a new location is needed by your district, please keep the following in mind. It is a multi-step process. The location must first be set up in your SMS. You, the district, must choose a new local location code that has never been used before. And for anybody who's new or even been here for a little bit, you might ask, well, how do I know if it's never been used before in a previous year? Well, to get the answer to that, there is a Level 1 report called Location Report by District to get a list of all locations that have ever been used by your district. So you'll need to pick a local code that does not appear on that list. Conventions of using the last 6 digits of the institution ID will not work for a location that has been assigned a new beds code, because the institution ID will remain the same. So that's a good place to start. Conventions are nice, but just wanted you to know that sometimes that does break down a little bit when locations move and get assigned a new beds code. Okay. Second part of the process is the location must be set up in Level 0. You'll use the law form to submit your request. You will need the following information: the local code that you just selected, the local location code. You will need the beds code. And you okay, my brain. You should check SEDREF to make sure that the beds code you're submitting is an active location. And you also want to make sure that the beds code that you're submitting is a school, not a district. We get a lot of information or requests that have a district beds code in there. We cannot set that up because you cannot enroll a student in a district other than in certain instances in your own district, but you cannot enroll a student in another school district. Okay, so check that information out in SEDREF. And I understand oftentimes you're getting information from your special services department and they may not understand this requirement. So that's something that you should reach out and make them aware that when they're enrolling a student, oftentimes it's a preschool student in a new location, that they need to make sure that they're specifying a school beds code and not a district code. And just a final note here, we can reactivate old codes, but only if the beds code and the name are still the same. Okay. If it's one of those schools that you haven't had a student enrolled in for a couple of years and you're going back to it, but in the intervening time, that school has gotten a new beds code, you'll need to find a new location code and define it with the new beds code.
We have a question, Pam.
Yeah, I was just, okay. So I'll read, what about out-of-state schools? How do we add them without a beds code? They won't have a New York State beds code. That's mostly true. There are some out-of-state schools that do actually have a New York State beds code. But in the service manual and the table of reporting responsibilities, there is, I can't quote you which row it is, but there is a row that specifies what beds code to use if it's an out-of-state school that does not have a beds code.
And then some
Yeah.
of those scenarios in the reporting responsibility chart, Sal, will even advise if there's no out-of-state reporting, depending on the scenario.
Right, exactly. Some schools do not need to be reported if your district is not accountable for the student.
Right.
So,
Good
okay.
question.
Yeah. You're welcome, Sal. Okay. A reminder about our help desk schedule. Emails, you can see here are hours of operation. Emails or calls that are received outside of our scheduled hours will be handled as soon as possible when the help desk reopens. We also know that we are closed on holidays, even though it's not indicated on this schedule, like we were closed yesterday. And we will be in a turkey stupor just like everybody else on Thanksgiving. In general, calls and emails are handled in the order received, giving urgent matters priority. Okay, that's just so you have that information in case you're wondering when we'll be getting back. Okay, so occasionally we send messages to all of you through our no reply DW email address. As the name suggests, we do not monitor the email these emails come from, the mailbox that these emails come from. Please do not reply directly to these emails. Instead, please send all emails to datawarehouse@mhric.org. Also know that contacting individual specialists on the data warehouse team may delay responses should that individual be out of the office or in meetings. Please use data warehouse email addresses for timely responses. We're saying this just to ensure that we're able to respond to your requests as soon as possible. So, all right. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Sam.
All right. Thank you, Pam. I don't see any additional questions in the chat.
I didn't either. I was, either I
You
totally
were so good. You
or
answered
I was
well.
totally clear, one or the other.
Thank you. All right. So we're just going to look at a few new items for October. And the October task list is now available, and that's through the shared link here. So this month is National Book Month, so there's a link there if you want to learn more about that. And if you're new to the DDC role, just a reminder that you can see previous task lists from prior months and years, and they're all linked here. So every month on the task list, we do have a SIRS tip of the month. So where we look at the SIRS manual, see if there's like a trending question or something. So this month we have, we covered the compulsory age students attending an alternative transition program. So if you don't know about that, I urge you to check out the tip of the month on the task list because it's a good resource and it will help you with your data cleansing and things that you should be looking at for this month. All right, so moving over to the level 1 report guide. So this month we have 8 new guides. As John mentioned, we're going to continue working on them and adding more each month. So they will soon be available at these links with the pass keys. So again, if you haven't bookmarked it, make sure you do so. So to help with an upcoming deadline for the staff assignment, we have the staff assignment verification report with the report guide for that. So more coming soon on those. And before I move on, I just noticed, so there are additional, so if you look at the first few listed here, BOCES, so those are BOCES specific reports. So for our 4 BOCES, if you're interested in those guides, those are specifically for you. Okay, so moving over to our looking ahead section, what's coming up. And if you haven't already, these are all of our links for the 25-26 DDC meetings to register for them. And also a reminder that as the meetings progress, we will also be including the recording links, which you can find here or on YouTube as well. So make sure that you're registering for our upcoming meetings so you don't miss out on any important information. So we also have our contacts for all of our departments and some of the highlighted items you may be contacting them for. So this is just a friendly reminder. So you have it here for any of our new DDCs. And links and resources. So as Michelle mentioned earlier, we do have our resource library, which includes many more links, but these are some of the more frequently used ones that you might want to refer to as the year goes on. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, a good starting point to review some information. Okay, thanks, Karen. So we're always here to support you. And it looks like we have 5 minutes or so till the end of the meeting. So are there any questions before we move on to just our BOCES folks? Okay, I'm just going to give it a few seconds in the chat. I don't see any. I know we've been asking questions and answering them throughout the session. Okay. So I'm not seeing any questions. So we're just asking that our BOCES staff, oh, here, wait, we have one here. Yes, so Keith, for the middle school CTE courses, are there special CTE certifications that they will have? So, Michelle, I think you said that they would have to refer to the SIRS 329 to see what they're certified in. Is that right?
Yes, and there's 7 specific areas, content areas that it applies to, and there are specific certifications that apply to those content areas.
Yeah, one other way to get to that answer too might be to use the crosswalk.
Yes.
And
Yes.
look up the course code, and then it will show you a list of valid certifications for that particular course.
Yes, that slide does have a link to the crosswalk, so you want to use the crosswalk and the SIRS 329 in conjunction with each other.
Yes. All right, and then there's a comment, a reminder about vaccine exclusions would be helpful for
Yeah,
for
can
future
Heidi,
meetings.
can you unmute? And is there a particular question regarding that?
No, hi, good morning. It's just
that's
that,
fine.
you know, seems like that the start of every year, this like comes not out of nowhere, but you know, once that time limit is met, and then, you know, it's sort of reinventing the wheel every time with, enrollments and, when these kids have to be excluded type of thing for non-compliance.
Yeah, I think, I mean, oftentimes your school nurse is going to know what the legal requirements are as to when they need to be excluded from an enrollment, and also the nurse would be following up with the student's physician about, do they have a plan in place to get those done? So your nurse would be your primary point of contact to say, have they met the requirements to be able to be in school? If they have not, then you're going to exit them with a 4:30. When, if they've reached a point that they're not able to attend, I think it's a 4:30 exit code, correct me if I'm wrong. And then enroll them with an 8,300 if they're still of compulsory school age. Okay, and then once they have met the requirements, obviously there might be a lot of contact going on between the nurse and the family and the physician to get them on track. But then you can, once they have met that requirement and you're notified, then the enrollment, you'd end the 8,300 and re-enroll them in the building.
Yeah. I guess there was a couple instances this year, oddly enough, that were 17-year-olds. So I didn't re-enroll them with the 8,300 because they weren't compulsory age, but then when they were then eligible, I just re-enrolled them, and it seems to be okay so far. So,
Yep.
Okay.
That should be fine. Just, yeah, if they're 17 now, just make sure that they would have been 16 by the end of last school year. I always, my brain gets mixed up with that. So, yep, sounds like you got it going the right way.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for that.
Just for reference, there is some further detail in the SIRS manual on page 69 and 70 surrounding that.
And
Thanks, Michelle.
Joan, I can't speak to anybody else as far as having a surge of homeschool students due to non-vaccination, not meeting the vaccination requirements. If anybody else wants to enter anything in the chat, feel free. I'll give you a minute to do that.
The SIRS manual does reference that as well in that section, that if during this time the parent subsequently becomes approved for homeschool, that they have to use that the 255 exit code, but that is just also does say that there needs to be an IHIP in place.
Yep. And also keep in mind that kindergartners are not compulsory school age in most cases. So they essentially could be exited with a 425 and no subsequent enrollment until they meet the requirements either to enroll in homeschool or meet the vaccination requirements to come back into the building.
All right.
Sorry, Lynn, had to
Thank
adjust
you.
my microphone on my headset. I hope that's better.
It is.
Yes.
Okay. And what we can do is get a copy of the chat here and we'll send it out with the notes so that you guys can have a chance to read through what other districts are putting in here. And then, okay. So
Sounds like a
Sam?
plan. Thank you everybody for joining us. So again, our BOCES folks, please stay on for our BOCES conversation meeting. But everybody else, thank you for joining us. Now, just a reminder, our next meeting is a Wednesday, November 5th, okay, at 9 a.m. So make sure you're registered and we will see you then and we'll share out all the assets after.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.